Oh, hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpwood Queen, reporting live from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law. And I am very excited. I thought our author would be out of the country, but she just got home. And we've got Alice C. Early here tonight as our International Pulpwood Queen and Timber Guys Book Club selection. Alice is back in Connecticut.
No, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, I'm sorry. You're at Martha's Vineyard, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Martha's Vineyard. And she's got her sister here tonight, Elizabeth Early Sheehan, who is from Kerrville, Texas. And she has not seen, you haven't seen each other since 2016, but they really look alike, you all. They really look alike. But what we're going to do is we're going to start out and have Alice tell us her story and the story behind the story of this book. And then once she's done doing her little presentation, and it's just very informal, we'll open it up so everybody can have a chance to talk about the book or ask questions about the writing process. So I'm going to put you on speaker view. And there we go. All right. Go ahead, Alice. I'm turning it over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. This is really a treat and it's a huge honor. I just, my book is just about 2 years old in terms of being out in the world. And so this is a big month for me to celebrate my book's second book birthday. And I just, I've spent a lot of time in preparing for this and in thinking about the book birthday, just thinking about what it's been like to be a debut author and what it's been like to bring out a book during pandemic. And it's been quite a ride. And so much of it was unexpected. I didn't know what I was getting into, but so much of it was unexpected. And I've learned an enormous amount about publishing, about writing, about myself. It's just been an amazing change. And one thing that I should tell you is that much of my career, which went on for some 50 years after college, was related to some kind of consulting or other. And I did college admissions, I was a dean, I was an executive recruiter, I have been a career transition coach for the last 20 years in private practice here. And all of that has been involved with people making some kind of a transition. Some of it planned, some of it forced. I lost a job, somebody died, they had a divorce, various things. And so a lot of what I've done is to help them through that. And my experience has been that it takes about 2 years for most humans to make that kind of an important transition, whatever it is, a major loss, a major upheaval, a big move. I've done all those things. I've had all those things happen. I've lost people I love very much. I'm divorced. I've moved a lot, changed jobs a lot, changed cities a lot. And, but what I found is, I don't turn that kind of knowledge on myself very often. And here I am now, just about 2 years into the transition from writer to author. And I didn't really understand what that transition was going to be like. I wanted to be a writer all my life. I wanted to write fiction. I didn't get around to it until, when I moved here to Martha's Vineyard from New York City, where I'd been in an international corporate job, I thought I was going to write right away. And what I did was to write a corporate history, nonfiction, lots of interviewing, but it wasn't what I thought I was going to do. And I didn't start even trying to write fiction until I'd been here for a number of years. And probably this book got going in any kind of form in about 2009, 2010, when I was in a writing group. My mother had died. My caregiving responsibilities for my parents were over. And I thought, I could do more of my day job, or maybe this is when I actually try to write. So I decided to do that and got serious about it and began to scribble chapters that eventually, some of them made it into the final book. But that was writing. And I was writing and I was writing and I was trying to be a better writer and I was trying to learn how to write a novel. And I was trying to figure out how the writing world worked and, you know, really a crash course in that sort of thing. But it wasn't until it wasn't getting an agent. It wasn't getting a publisher. It wasn't proofreading my book and, you know, looking at a cover design. It was really having it out in the world and talking to readers that made me feel like I'd actually become an author, that I had sort of somehow passed through that gate of scribbling in private for my own consumption and having my words out there in the world that people could discuss with me. I got to tell you, releasing the book was terrifying, very exhilarating, but it was also terrifying because I had been writing alone for a really long time. And when I got my agent liked my book, but didn't have much for criticism. My publisher didn't have an editor that wanted to do anything with it. They basically said, this is fine, let's just go with it. And I'm like, wait, don't you think we ought to talk about it a little bit more? I was expecting I would get edited again. Didn't happen. Wow. So I was, I thought, am I ready for prime time? Is my little book that I've been shepherding through this 20 years of production here, is this actually going to fly? And so the first several months of having the book out there in COVID, when there were no bookstores open, people couldn't get a hold of books at all. Amazon wasn't shipping them. I thought, I'm never going to get any feedback. But the first thing that happened was that I had entered a contest, and Moon won a finalist designation in not one, but 3 categories. So women's fiction, first novel, and magical realism. And that was the first time I thought, okay, phew. It's one thing to have your family tell you that they liked your book, but to have a national contest, honor the book, and to start getting reviews from around the country and a little bit around the world, that was really the beginning of my feeling like I had the right to call myself an author, and I had sort of had when people would say, well, so what do you do? I started to say, well, I write. And up until then, I hadn't been willing to do that. I hadn't been able to do that. So here I am 2 years in, and here you are, many of you are writers, you know what this is like. You're all published. Wandra had the same honor I have this month, she had last month, as the International Book of the Month. Wonderful, wonderful book that she wrote. So, I just sort of feel like the writer community has opened its arms to me, and I've made wonderful friends among readers and writers, and that I just feel like I'm sort of beginning to find my feet and take my place here, which is enormously affirming and exciting. And I'm, working on a second novel and all that, but it's really been the kind of welcome that the Pulpwood Queens have given me, and the books in my local bookstores and places like that, where people said, you're one of us, and welcome, and that has been just fabulous. So that's kind of the story of my last 2 years. And, I'm happy to talk about any aspect of this book or my life before that. I grew up in Connecticut, one of 5 children. 4 of us are still alive. One of my younger sisters is here tonight. She's been one of my best fans and one of my biggest supporters, and I love her dearly. And she's in Texas. I have another sister in Lincoln, Massachusetts, and a brother in Colorado. And so we've scattered to the four winds. We lost our oldest brother during COVID, not of COVID, but during COVID. And it was a big and very busy family that I grew up in. But finding a quiet corner where you could read was a real challenge. And so that must have prepared me for my current life, where it's still a challenge to find a quiet corner to read. Because in our household, and Elizabeth, you can verify this if you want, but when we were kids, if you had a book in front of you, that was an invitation to somebody else to come up and talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Used to drive me crazy. So I spent my whole life trying to read more and trying to write more, and it's still a struggle. So there you have it. That's
wonderful. I'm going to open this back up. When I was a kid, nobody in my family read. So, to keep people out of my face when I was reading, I'd hide under the bed and read, or go up in my tree house. Those were the two places that were the best for me. So, but I had to, and then I, always went to the library. I have a couple of things. You've been blogging this week and wonderful posts, but I love that you started out as a nanny.
That was one of my very first jobs. And it was torture. I'll tell you a very short story. It was in my hometown. The family had 5 children, one of whom was only like a babe in arms, was only like months old, and it wasn't my job. But the other 4 were I was supposed to take care of them. And the very first day that I got there, the mother of the house was not there. I arrived, I got the kids. There was a nanny who stayed with the baby. I rounded up the kids and put them in the Volkswagen, and then discovered that it was a stick shift car. And I was supposed to take them to the beach. And I had a driver's license, but I didn't know how to drive stick. I mean, I sort of knew. I knew the basics of it, but I really didn't know. And I ended up, sort of stalling 16 times in the driveway. And the kids are in the back seat going, "You don't know how to drive. We don't want to go with you." And then I finally figured it out. We went down to the beach, the public beach in our town, and these kids scattered. There was a set of twins and 2 slightly older.
Oh my God!
And I thought, they're going to drown. This will be, So, fortunately, we got through the whole day. I did manage to stay with them the whole summer. We made our peace. They learned that, I was going to take care of them. The mother was a ditz, and that was my first job.
Man, that's, yeah.
It's a baptism of fire.
I babysat. That was my first job. And that made me realize I didn't want to get married and have children for a long time. I did
babysit as a teenager. I did. And there were some weird experiences there too. But this was the first time where I was just, like out of their home and in charge of these little monsters.
Just out of curiosity, what did you get paid an hour?
I have no idea. I can't imagine.
Don't remember?
I don't remember. No.
I do. It was $1.
Well, I think it was a couple of dollars at the most.
Yeah, $1 an hour, and it was the longest hours of my life. I had 3 charges that I used to take care of in a family, and these kids were terrible. But they locked the dog in the bathroom with the tub running.
Oh no!
And there was no key, and I did not know what to do. And so my friends called me. "What are you doing?" I go, "Help, help. The kids have locked the bath door." And they came over, and one of the guys I went to school with, somehow, I think he took the door off the hinges, but just as we went in and turned the tap off, it was about to go over those old claw-footed tubs.
Right, yeah. About to get up over the edge.
Oh, that's nothing compared to other things. And the house was haunted. So, it ties into kind of your story. It was the creepiest house. It was 4 stories. Oh my gosh, it was scary. But anyway, back to you. I'm reading all these stories, and then I'm thinking, man, you almost immediately went, once you got your education, into, corporate world. And then you worked, in all this consulting and everything. It was very inspirational to me because that you've come a long way since starting out as a nanny back in your hometown of, was this Neighbor Kids or something, or?
And I didn't know them. It was just, I don't know. I applied for a job. Maybe I saw it in the paper. It was a summer job. I needed to work. So I don't really remember. But I was 16 or 17 because I had a newish license. So I was pretty young.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Any of you ever out there taking care of kids or babysitting?